Let's have a quick review of what the objectives for these sessions are. We have finished our discussion on simple interest. Okay, we learned how to compute for the maturity value for the simple interest, uh, which maturity value is computed by adding the principal to the interest. And we learned the different ways to compute your interest. We learned that interest is a function of your principal times rate times time, and that the rate is usually given in annual terms. Therefore, the time should also be in annual terms. Okay, we learned how to compute also for exact interest and ordinary interest. And lastly, what we learned last time was given, for example, given the interest, you can compute for the principal if you know the rate and the time. Given the interest, you can compute also for the rate if you know the principal and the time. And lastly, given the interest, you can compute for the time if you know also the principal and the rate. So those are the things that we discussed last time. Now, we're going to continue our discussion on promissory notes and the simple discount note. So let's briefly look at the objectives that we have for this topic. Number one is differentiate between interest-bearing and non-interest-bearing notes. Okay, when, as the name suggests, interest-bearing means that note that I owe you. Okay, so if I say note, it means I owe you. Utang. It's a uh, it's a loan. Okay, from the perspective of the borrower. So you're loaning or you're lending. It depends on whose perspective you're looking at. Interest bearing means that I owe you, that note carries with it some interest or some cost. Okay, and of course, the other one is non-interest bearing notes. Secondly, we're going to calculate bank discount and proceeds for simple discount notes. If for example, you have a note from a certain company, which means you're going to receive that amount at a certain time. Let's say you're going to receive that December 31, but you need the money now. So what you can do is you can discount that note to a bank. In other words, it's like selling that note to a bank. Of course, they're going to buy it at a cheaper rate so that they also earn from that transaction. So we're going to discuss that. How do we compute that? The discount, the bank discount, and then how do we compute the proceeds from a simple discount note? Okay, then thirdly, calculate and compare interest, maturity value, proceeds, and effective rate of simple interest notes with a simple discount note. Okay, so it seems like a mouthful, but the examples that we're going to have in this class will hopefully will be able to will clear what this means. And we're also going to look at treasury bills. Treasury bills are instruments that's issued by the government. Okay, when the government needs money, okay, it issues what we call treasury bills. These are short-term instruments which the government will pay in 30 days, 90 days, sometimes 180, sometimes 360. Okay, so those are treasury bills. And next is discounting an interest-bearing note before maturity. We're going to learn how to discounting an interest-bearing note before maturity means you're going to sell that note, okay, before it matures. So there has to be some computations about that. Okay, so we're going to calculate the maturity value, bank discount, and proceeds of the discounting on an interest-bearing note before maturity, and identify and complete the 4 steps of the discounting process. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to focus on. Maybe we'll not be able to complete everything today, but definitely by next meeting we should be able to cover everything here. Okay, so as I mentioned a while ago, interest-bearing notes, it should state the rate of interest. Okay, an interest-bearing note will always indicate there what is the interest rate. Okay, otherwise it it might not become valid. It should indicate what interest rate the transaction is. If it states an interest rate of 9% when the note matures, the corporation will pay back the original amount borrowed for the face value, or sometimes called the principal, plus the interest. So we learned about this. The maturity value is simply the sum of the principal plus the interest incurred during the duration of the loan. On the other hand, non-interest bearing promissory notes, okay, does not bear any interest. So the principal is simply what you will be paying at the end of the term. The 10,000 means you pay back 10,000 at maturity. Okay, so the face value is simply the maturity. Why? Using the formula, the maturity value is equal to. So let me just. Just make use of my digital pen. Okay, so the formula is the maturity value is equal to the principal, which is also the face value, plus interest, right? For an interest-bearing note, okay, interest-bearing note, this exists. There is an interest component. However, for a non-interest-bearing promissory note, this is equal to 0. So there is no interest. Therefore, the maturity value will be the same as the principal or the face value. Okay. Usually notes are for short-term period only, and under special conditions, especially non-interest bearing promissory note. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of a promissory. Oops. Why did this not appear? Okay, can you see the illustration, the picture at the left side? Correct. I don't know why this happened. Okay, let me. Something's wrong with my PowerPoint. The illustration does not appear. Okay, wait, let me first. Let me try to save this first. Let me just put it to the desktop. An error occurred. I've been having problems with my PowerPoint slides. Okay. Excuse me, guys, for a while. Let me just fix this. Give me a few seconds. Let me first pause recording. Okay, I'd like to present to you a sample promissory note. Okay, so this is an example of a promissory note. So this is the structure of a promissory note. Here you find the amount, okay, the amount, and then this is the date, okay, 60 days. This is the company that's lending the money, and then this is the amount and the bank to which it will be paid to. and then the interest rate, and then the borrower. Okay, and then when this was the date when this was transacted, and this is the date when it will be paid. Okay, so here you have the different parts, A, B, C, D up to G. Okay, A is the face value in numerical terms. That's the amount borrowed. Okay, this is also the the principal or the face value. They're just the same. The term is the length of the time that the money is borrowed here. That would be 60 days. Okay, and then C, the date that the note is issued. That's October 2, in this case 2017. Letter D, the payee. Okay, this is the company that's lending the money or extending the credit. In this case, it's GJ Equipment Company. And the rate, annual rate, this one. Again, it's always assumed to be annual. The cost of borrowing money at 9%. And then the maker of this note, okay, the one borrowing is Regal Corporation. Maturity date is this one, December 2017. So this is the structure of a promissory note. So the root word here is promise. That Regal Corporation is promising to pay GJ Company on December 17 the amount of 10,000 plus the interest that accrues to it. Okay, the term is 60 days. Okay, be paid to deposit at the Able National Bank. Okay, so that's the main parts of a promissory note. Okay, all right. So some terminologies that we need to know and understand. Let's see if I can use the. Okay, first, simple discount note. Okay, there's a difference between a simple interest note and a simple discount note. Okay, and what's the main difference? Okay, a note in which the loan interest is deducted in advance. So for example, if I borrow 10,000 now, okay, if it's a discount note, okay, so I signed a promissory note that I'm going to pay this in 60 days, for example. The amount that I'm going to get is not the face value. This is the face value or the principal. I'm not going to get 10,000. What I'm going to get is the proceeds of the loan after we deduct the discount from the face value. In other words, we're going to subtract here the discount. So the proceeds will be less than 10,000. Let's say, for example, I'm only getting 9,900. Okay, so that's what a discount note is. So I'm borrowing 10,000. Okay. However, I'm not going to get 10,000. I'm only going to get a certain amount, less than 10,000. Why? Because they will already subtract the discount. Okay, and then after 60 days, for example, I'm borrowing this for 60 days. After 60 days, I'll be paying the whole amount, 10,000. Okay, so that's what this entails. You borrow 10,000, but you won't get 10,000. The discount will be deducted, and then after 60 days, if that's the tenor, I pay back the whole 10,000. Okay, so let me pause for a while. Is that clear, class? Is this type of transaction clear? Feedback, please. Yes or no? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your feedback. Okay, thank you. All right. So that's a simple discount note. Okay, good. On the other hand, and in the one with the interest, okay, a borrowing with interest, of course, you get 10,000, and then after 60 days, you pay the maturity value. You pay the principal of 10,000 plus the interest. So that's the difference in this transaction. Okay, so the bank discount is this amount. In this case, it's 100. It's the interest that the bank deducts in advance. Okay, that's the bank discount. In this example, I borrowed 10,000. I got only 9,900, which means the discount is 100. Okay, so that's called the bank discount. The maturity value, as we know, is already the amount to be paid at the end. So it depends. Okay, it depends on the nature of the transaction. If it's a discount, then what you pay will be the face value itself. That's the maturity value will be equal to the face value for discounts, for a discount. On the other hand, if it's an interest, what you pay will be the market value will be equal to the face value plus the interest. Okay, so that's a difference. Okay, here the discount is subtracted before at the beginning. Okay, at the beginning it's already subtracted, so the proceeds will be less than the face value. Okay, so as we said, the maturity value is the total amount due at the end of the loan. It can be the face value itself, it can be face value plus interest, depending on the type of transaction. Okay, the proceeds is the amount the borrower receives after the bank deducts its discount. So this one, the 9,900 here is called the proceeds. Okay, proceeds from the loan. Okay, so it's used when you have a discount. Okay, when you have a simple discount note. And the bank discount is the rate of interest. Okay, so I hope that's clear, class. I hope that when we use these terms, since we have defined it, we have defined them, then I hope it's clear to us what these terminologies mean. Okay, so let's have an example. So Pete has a choice of two different notes that both have a face value, okay, of 14,000 for 60 days. One note has a simple interest of 8%, while the other note has a simple discount rate of 8%. For each of the type of note, calculate the interest owed, the maturity value, the proceeds, and the effective rate. Okay, so let me first show the solutions here. Okay. Simple interest note. Okay, this is very easy. We have already computed for this one. So the face value is 14,000. Interest rate is 8%, 60 days. So what we learned is that interest is equal to PRT. So the interest here is simply 14,000 times 0.08 times 60 over 360. So since we're using the ordinary interest. Okay. Any questions about this, class? Notice I'm going a bit fast here because we have already discussed this. This is just in a sense that this is just a quick review of what we have discussed. So kindly chat, please, if that's clear so far. This one, the interest note. Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so this is very basic. We have already learned this. Okay, how about the bank discount? Okay, let me go back to the problem. What was the problem? One note has a simple interest rate of 8%, while the other has a simple discount rate of 8%. So you notice a difference, okay? I hope this is clear to us. For the simple interest, what happens? We borrowed 14,000 now, and then after 60 days, after 60 days, what happens? We pay for 14K plus whatever the interest is, right? And it turned out to be, was it 186? See, 186.67. Okay, so that's the simple interest. Okay, so that's, we have discussed that already before. So the the amount to be paid, okay, will be, the maturity will be 14,186.67. So that answers the question, what is the interest owed? It's 186.67. What is the maturity value? 14,186.67. Okay, and then we'll the proceeds, that will be for the uh, for the discount. Okay, and then the effective rate also. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back here. Okay, for the bank discount, okay, what will be the formula? The formula will be the face times the discount times the time. Okay, so actually they're the same. The face is 14,000. The discount, let me show again. The interest rate is 8%. The discount is 8%. So they're the same. Okay. So the face value or the principal is 14,000 times a discount of 0.08 and then time of 60 days, 60 over 360. So it's just similar to the PRT. Here we just call it, it's either PDT or FDT, or sometimes they call it MDT. Okay, maturity times date times time. All right. So this 186.67 is also the bank discount. Now it's the same as the interest because the discount and the interest rates are the same. Okay, the principals are also the same and the terms are the same. So everything is the same. Okay, so we expect, of course, the same answer. So the question is, what will be the proceeds? Okay, let me ask the class, what will be the proceeds from the simple discount? Anyone? Kindly chat, please. What will be the proceeds? What is the proceeds, class? Okay, Bianca. Okay, Bianca, kindly share your answer to the rest, please. It's okay with you, please. Okay. Bianca, could you? Thank you so much, Bianca, for participating. Thank you so much for your answer. Could you share your? Could you explain why you got that? Is it okay for you to unmute yourself, please?
Subtract for the $186.67
From where?
from the maturity value po,
What's
which is
the maturity value?
14,000 po.
So 14,000. You said you
Dollar.
subtract. Oh, so you're subtracting 14,000. 14,000. You're correct. You subtract 14,000 minus 186.67. So siguro nagkamali ka lang sa just copied erroneously dun sa proceeds. No? So what's the proceeds, guys? Plus, what's the proceeds? It's 13,813.33, right? 13,813.33. Is this correct, class? This would be the proceeds, right? Remember, class, the proceeds is the amount that you will get once the discount is deducted. Okay, because that's what a simple discount note is. Okay, you borrow and then you don't get everything. The discount has to be subtracted. So here, the borrower will only get 13,813.33 out of the maturity, out of the loan amount of 14,000. Okay, and at the end of 60 days, how much will the borrower pay? Hello? How much will the borrower pay, class? All right, correct. 14,000. Okay, so let's just make sure that we understand this. Let me go here. Let's put here. Here we have. So for the simple discount, the borrower only gets 13,100. Sorry, what was that? 813.33, and then at the end pays 14,000. On the other hand, for the simple interest, it gets 14,000, and then at the end it pays 14,186.67. So there's a world of there's a difference here. Okay, you borrow 14,000, at the end of 60 days you pay 14,186.67. Here, in effect, you're borrowing 14,000, but you're only getting 13,813.33 because the amount of 14,000, which is the maturity value, was discounted by the discount, which is 186.67. And after 60 days, you also pay 14,000. Okay, so we were able to answer what was the interest rate, what is the maturity value, and what's the proceeds for each type of note. Okay. Okay, so here are the comparisons. The maturity value for the simple interest rate is 14,186.67. The proceeds is 14,000. Okay, what will he get now? For this one, the proceeds is 13,813.33. The face value is also at the maturity value is 14,000. Okay, now let's take a look at the interest. Okay, so in effect, which has the higher effective rate? So you remember, class, how do we compute for the rate? Remember this mnemonic device, I over P R T. So here we want to compute for the R, the rate, the effective rate. We know the P and we know the T. Okay, so let's take a look first at the simple interest note. So for a simple interest note, the effective rate will be the same as the interest rate. Okay, whatever the interest rate is, that will also be your effective rate. in the case of a simple interest rate. So let's show this computation. We know that the interest is 186.67. The proceeds or the amount that will be obtained now, okay, is 14,000. So no deductions, right? When we borrow 14,000, we get the whole amount, 14,000. So you remember the formula is interest over P times T. Since we're looking for R, we just cancel this. So R is simply equal to interest over P times T. Okay, so the interest is 186.67. Okay, the quote-unquote principal or the proceeds is 14,000, and then the time is 60 days, and then we divide it by 360. And you get the same 8% in 8% effective rate. So for a simple interest, the effective rate is the same. It's also 8%, same as the interest rate. On the other hand, for a simple discount, the effective rate will be higher. Okay, why? The interest is the same, 186.67, but what we get now is only 13,813.33, right? So this is the multiplied by 60 times 360, and the effective interest rate is 8.11%. Okay? So lenders, in this case, for example, the bank, would want to discount. Okay, they prefer discounting the amount that's being lent. Why? Because the effective rate is actually higher. That they're earning actually an effective rate of 8.11%, as compared to if it's just simple interest note, what they're earning is in effect the effective rate is 8%. So from the perspective of the lender, okay, better for them in terms of effective rates, better for them to discount. In other words, they get immediately the interest from the borrowing. Okay, remember that money has cost. So if they get the interest now, they can use that elsewhere, right? They can use that and invest it also. So that's why the simple discount note has a higher effective rate. And lenders would, of course, prefer that. On the other hand, borrowers would prefer a simple interest note. Okay, I hope the concept is clear why lenders would want to lend using the simple discount manner, because they earn more interest in effect with that as compared to just the simple interest. Okay, let me pause. Okay, and maybe some of you are jotting down notes. I'll give you a copy of this. So any questions? Any clarifications? Okay, kindly chat, please, if it's clear so far. Okay, good, good. Thank you. All right. Appreciate your feedback. No questions. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's just summarize this, what the example that we learned so far. Okay, very quick summary. An amount was borrowed, 14,000. One process was simple interest. The other is simple discount. Okay, so we were asked to compute for the interest. We were asked to compute for the maturity value. We were asked to compute for the proceeds. The proceeds is the amount that you get now. And then we were asked to compute for the effective interest rate. Okay, so very quick comparison. So we had, as an example, a promissory note for a loan with a term of, a promissory note usually has a term that's less than 1 year. Okay, 60 days, 90 days, usually less than 1 year. Okay, so the simple interest, for the simple interest note, it's paid back by one payment at maturity. Okay, you pay the amount that you owe and the interest at the maturity, at the date of maturity. Okay, so that's the principal plus the interest. Okay, face value equals the actual amount or the principal of the loan. Okay, so the face value and the principal is not equal to the maturity, because the maturity value is the principal plus the interest. On the other hand, for a discount note paid back by one payment at maturity, the face value equals the maturity value. Okay, the maturity value is the face value. It's what was being borrowed on the note. So you're borrowing 14,000. Okay, you're going to pay that at the end of the period, 14,000. Okay. For simple interest note, the maturity value is not the face value. So you're borrowing 14,000. What you're going to pay is not 14,000. It will be higher because there will be the interest added. Okay, number 3, interest computed on face value or what is actually borrowed. Okay, so here, what is actually borrowed is 14,000. So you compute that by using the PRT, principal times rate times time, and the answer was 14,186.67. Here, the interest is also computed on maturity value or face value, or what will be repaid, and not on the actual amount borrowed. Okay, take note. How do we compute for the interest here? It's a simple discount. Okay, how much did we get for the simple discount? Didn't we get 13,813.33, right? This is the proceeds. This is what we get. But when you compute for the interest, you're going to compute it based on 14,000. 14,000 and not on the proceeds. Because we might think, since we're getting 13,813.33, then we will have to base the discount on 13,813.33. Wrong. We based it on the maturity value or the face value, which is 14,000. Okay, the 13,813.33 is the proceeds. It's what you will get at the beginning of the transaction. Okay, so for simple discount rate, for interest note, I mean, the maturity value is equal to the face value or the principal plus the interest. So that's the maturity value. For a simple discount note, the maturity value is equal to the face value. Okay, no more need to add the interest. The face value is equal to the amount being borrowed, 14,000. But when you're going to pay it already, when it matures, when the loan matures, you're only going to pay the face value. You're not anymore going to include the interest because the interest was already deducted at the start. Okay, so next, the proceeds. So the proceeds here is the amount of the face value. You're borrowing 14,000, you get 14,000. For simple discount note, the proceeds is less than the face value. Okay, because as I mentioned, the interest or the discount will be subtracted already. So we only get 13,813. Okay, effective rate. For simple interest, effective rate is the same. That's the one stated in the note. 8%. Okay, 8% is the stated rate. That will also be your effective rate. On the other hand, for a simple discount, the effective rate is higher since interest was deducted in advance. Okay, 8%. So higher, always your discount note will have a higher effective rate. Okay, usually this is used more than this one. Okay, so please don't mind this because this is US setting. Okay, in the Philippine context, this is allowed. Yung simple discount, ina-allow siya. Okay. All right. Any questions as far as regards the summary of the comparison between simple interest note and simple discount note? Are we clear so far, guys? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Please feel free to ask questions. Okay? If something's not clear to you, I will share already this first part of the because there are other slides here. So I'll just share with you the first part of the slides, whatever we have finished, so that you can review it. Okay. Okay, let's go to treasury bills. Okay, please ignore the federal issues in the US. But it's also done in the Philippines. So the government also issues treasury bills. So it's a loan. It's a loan to the federal government. It's a loan. The government, the Philippine government borrows. The terms of purchase in the Philippines. Okay, let's just check. Okay, let me just check the tenor, just to be sure. Okay, it's 31 days. Okay, and 91 days. So there are different tenors. Huh? There's a 35-day T-bill also. There's a 91-day, okay, 182, 364. So these are the tenors that the government issues. 35, 91, 182, and 364 days. But the 35, I'm not sure about the 35. Usually it's 31, but here in 2020, the government did issue a 35-day treasury bill. It's usually 31. Let me see here. Okay, anyway, guys, so those are the different tenors, and it's less than 1 year. Less than 1 year yung the borrowing, the loan by the Philippine, the borrowing by the Philippine government. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so this is an example. If you buy a 10,000 13-week treasury bill at 8%, how much will you pay and what is the effective rate? So the face is 10,000. Okay, and then the rate is 8%. And take note, the term is given in 13 weeks. So we have to convert this 13 weeks into annual data. So for weeks, in order to convert weeks into annual data, we use 52. So straightforward computation. So that's 10,000 times 0.08 times 13 over 52. So that gives us 200. So this is the interest. Okay, this is the interest. So what's the cost? What's the cost? Okay, so the 10,000 will be discounted at 200. So you get 9,800. And then the effective rate will be, so this is the interest divided by the proceeds is 9,800 times the time, which is 13 over 52. So that's the effective rate. Okay. So because here we're being asked for the effective rate. So you're buying this 10,000 treasury bill, 13-week treasury bill at 8%. How much will you pay and what is the effective rate? So you're going to pay 9,800. Okay, and the effective rate is 8.16. I'll give you a few seconds if you're copying. Okay, thank you for your question, Daniel. So my question is, Daniel has a question here. Daniel, can you share your question, please, to the class? That's a very important question. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, good. Thank you, Daniel. All right, why 52? Take note, what's given is 13 weeks. Okay, so 13 weeks, you have to convert this into years. And to convert 13 weeks, you divide it by 52. So that our formula, which is the interest over the proceeds times time. Okay, since the rate is in annual terms, therefore the time should also be in annual terms. Okay, did that answer your question, Daniel? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Appreciate that. Okay, so clear so far, class? Okay, so let's proceed. Let's have more examples. Okay, so this is actually we know this already. Simple interest note. I'm sure we already know this. All right. So here Walker paid off a 150-day note at 6% with a single payment, also known as a balloon payment of 2550. Find the face value and the interest for the simple interest note. Okay, so we have here some terms that's used for the first time. Sabi natin dito, si Walker daw, he paid a 150-day note, 6%, 150-day note with a single payment. Okay, that single payment is known as balloon payment, and the amount is 2550. So we're asked to find the face value and the interest for this simple interest note. Okay, take note, it's a simple interest note. So what are we given? What are we given? We're given the interest, right? right? We're given the interest. What are we also given? Uh, Sorry, the interest rate, 6%, not the interest. Okay, and what are we also given? We're given the, what's this? This is your 2550. What's this, class? Okay, I think this might be quite confusing because of the use of a new term here, the balloon payment. Okay, so uh, let's repeat the process. Okay, this is, take note, this is a simple interest note, right? So what have we learned about an interest note? What have we learned about an interest, about the interest note, class? In the interest note, the face value is not the maturity value, right? So for interest note, we borrow here, we get the face value or the principal, and then after, in this case, after 150 days, we pay for the maturity value, right? And the maturity value is equal to your principal plus the interest. Okay, this is what happens for a simple interest. If this was a simple discount note, then we borrow here face value, but we only pay the proceeds because the face value, to the face value we subtract the interest. However, the maturity value will only be equal to the principal. There will be no more interest, okay, because the interest was already deducted here at the onset. So that's the simple discount. Here we're being asked for the simple interest note. Okay, so let's try to draw this. Walker paid off. What does this mean? What does this paid off mean? When did it occur? At the beginning or at the end? Kindly chat, please, class. So this is a note. It's a loan. Okay. Walker paid. So when will the paying off occur? Class, is it at the beginning or at the end? No. Okay. Yes, that's correct. Gerard, thank you so much. That's correct. Yeah, it's at the end. So Walker paid off a 150-day note, which means he borrowed. He issued a promissory note. I promise to pay 100 after 150 days at 6% interest. Okay, and then he paid off 2550. The balloon payment means it consists of the principal plus the interest payment. So that's another way to call it balloon payment. Okay. All right. So what do we know here? We know now the maturity value. The maturity value is 2550. Right? So what are we asked for? We're asked for the face value and the interest. Okay. All right. So from our basic formula, the mature value is equal to the principal plus the interest, right? and the interest is equal to, this is equal to P times 1 plus rate times time. Okay. All right. What do we know here in this formula? What do we know? Do we know the maturity value? Class, do we know the maturity value? Yes, we know the maturity value, and that's 2550. Okay, so we know this. Do we know the principal or the face value? No, correct. We don't know the principal. In fact, that's what's being asked. No? Find the face value. But do we know R? Do we know the rate? Yes, 6%. Do we know time? Yes, 150 days. Therefore, we can compute now for the principal. So the principal will simply be equal to, the principal will be equal to the market value divided by your 1 plus RP, right? So we can now compute for this. And it's already shown here, right? So our market, not market value, maturity value is 2550. And then divided by 1 plus, this is your rate times short time, which is 150. We have to divide it by 360. Okay. So based on this computation, the face value is 2487.80. In other words, here we borrowed 2487.80. Okay, and it carried with it 6% interest rate and a term of 150 days. So at the end of this 150 days, what we paid is 2550, which is your maturity value. Okay, so that's our face value. Okay, so therefore we can easily now compute for the interest. Okay, the interest is simply, since we know that the maturity value is equal to principal plus interest, we know the maturity, we know the principal, therefore your interest is simply the difference between the two. So it's 62.20. Okay. Right, so let me pause for a while. Let me bring back the, don't worry, class, I'm going to give you a copy of this. I'll just delete first the other slides. I'll share with you what we have discussed so far. And are there any questions about this? Okay. Thank you, Patricia, for that question. Good question. Why is it 360 and not 365? Okay. There was no mention, right? Now, just like the interest rate, if you're given the interest rate, you always assume that it's annual. In terms of days, if you're not if it's not specified whether it's ordinary or exact, you always use the ordinary. Okay, so that's why we are using 360 instead of 365, even if it's not stated whether it's it's exact or ordinary. Okay. Thank you for that question, Patricia. Did that answer your question? That's a great question. Patricia, did that answer your question? Okay, good. So reminder class, the rates we know. If it's not clearly stated in the title, yes, 360. Okay, the assumption is always use the ordinary number of days, the 360. Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. So maybe, okay, I should have. Anyway, it's already here. I wanted to remove this first so that you can, on your own, practice. Okay, it's okay. All right, same thing. Same thing here, class. Avery Walker paid 150-day note, balloon payment of 2550. Sorry. Here, okay. Here we're finding the rate. Okay, so this is just a continuation of the previous problem. So we were able to compute the interest here, right? 62.2. And we know that if you have the interest rate, then you can compute either principal rate or time. So based on this formula, interest and then PRT, if we already know the interest, then we can compute for the principal given the rate and the time. Or we can compute for the rate given the principal and the time. And lastly, we can compute for the time given the principal times the rate. So we know the interest. We know the interest is 62.6. Let's compute for the rate. Okay. Let's compute for the effective rate. So the interest is 62.6. Okay. What is our principal? Our principal is what we computed a while ago, 2487.8. 2487.8, and then times the time is 150 divided by 360. Okay, since this is the next problem, we are asked for the rate or effective rate. Okay, here is the interest. This is the face value or the face value, and then this is the time. So we get, expectedly, we will be getting 6%. Why? Why was I expecting 6%? Class, I'm expecting 6% because this is a simple interest note. And for the simple interest note, the effective rate will always be equal to your stated rate. Stated rate because that's the one in the note. No? That's the one stated in the note. That the interest is 6%. And it turns out that indeed it is 6%. Okay, so it just clarifies and reinforces what we said a while ago, that for a simple interest note, the effective rate will always be equal to your stated rate, or also called nominal rate. Nominal rate, what's in the note, what's written in the note. However, for a simple discount note, okay, the effective rate will be greater than your stated or nominal rate. It's also so-called the nominal stated rate or nominal rate. Okay, so this one is also an extension of the problem a while ago. So what we're doing now is based on this, interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Previously, we computed for the rate, right? And this turned out to be 6%. This time, let's compute for the time. So therefore, we're going to use the principal times the rate here. Okay? So we know that the interest is 62.20. Sorry. The interest is 62.20. Why doesn't it write? Okay. Okay. So we're computing for the time and in days. So we just use this. I over PT. Okay. So the interest is 62.2. The principal we know 2487.8. And the okay, this is wrong. This should be R. Okay, sorry about that. And the rate is 6%. Okay. This will actually give us, the time in years. Okay, the time in years, and if we convert that into the number of days, we multiply it by 360, and it turns out that's around 150.01. There's a certain discrepancy due to rounding off, but we get the same 150 days. Okay, which we are expecting because yan ang nasa tenor ng note, di ba? 150 days. Okay, so far I hope we're clear about this. All right, so it's yeah, let me just start the introduction to this because it's almost time. So for simple interest rate, we're quite really familiar with that. Okay, for a discount rate, let's have this round of examples. So borrowed 2550 at 6%. Okay, 150 days. Okay, so this is the amount borrowed. However, recall that for a discount note, we will not be getting this. What we will be getting, the proceeds will be equal to, okay, the maturity value. The maturity value is this 2550. It's called maturity value because this is the amount that will be paid at the end. Okay, this will be the amount that will be paid at the end of the 150 days. So remember that the proceeds is equal to whatever the maturity value is minus the discount. Okay, and the discount is equal to, what's a discount? That's the maturity times the discount times time. So if we factor out m, we will have now m1 minus d times t. So this is now your proceeds. Okay, so what do we get now? The maturity is 2550. The formula is 1 minus the rate of 6% times the days converted to years. So the proceeds will be 2486.25. This is what we're going to get. Okay, so we borrowed now. We borrowed 25 now. But what we're going to get only is 2486.25. But after 150 days, we're going to pay 25. Okay. This is the amount that we borrowed. This is also the maturity value. The proceeds is less, 2486. Okay. So how much is a bank discount? The bank discount is the difference between your maturity value and your proceeds, and that's 63.75. Okay? All right, it's already time. So nag-over na ako. Okay, so I'll share with you up to this point, no? Yung related dun sa problem na yon, so that you can review it also. Okay, so let me stop sharing now. Let me stop recording.